Hi, everybody. I'm Gloria Moraga with some political news. Thanks for being here. So, I promised yesterday that I was going to get back to the witness statements and I wanted to share them with you. So, I am going to kind of move my photo and my live, and I'm going to bring up the statements. And this will give you an idea of what exactly is going on because this weekend, all we got on all the mainstream media shows was lying people from the Trump regime slamming the hero, the nurse, the VA nurse, Alex Pretti. And the thing is, not only was his tragic murder the result of the government way overstepping its power, but after they did that, they then began a smear campaign to smear him and to lie about him, and it's not acceptable. And for people even on my feed and making comments to say, well, he should have just stayed home. And it's like, yeah, nothing makes me more angry than people saying, oh, just stay home. Yeah, why don't we all just stay home, watch our big screen TVs and eat cheeseburgers while these billionaires and these immoral people create crimes against humanity. And no, we're going to speak up. This is not right, and we should not do this. So I'm going to get to the statements, and what's going on is the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU in Minnesota, has filed a class action lawsuit against, and you look here. So this is the actual one of the filings in the lawsuit. So against Kristi Noem, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and on at all these losers who have what are the marching orders to these dudes that are going around and knocking women to the ground? I mean, it's just like has become a natural thing. Nobody even says anything. Women are just being knocked to the ground, and it's like, oh, he shouldn't have interfered. Yeah, don't interfere. Just let them knock people to the ground and pepper spray them. No, he was a good dude and he was doing the right thing. So this statement, and they have redacted her name because, of course, we don't want people to start torturing her. And actually, she was very afraid after she went and did what she did, and kind of wanted to go into hiding because she heard that ICE was looking for her. I mean, that's what we've become. So here it is, and I'm just going to read, and hopefully you can follow along because we like to read. Quote, and she says, I declare as follows, and I'm going to turn sideways and kind of read from the document. I'm a 29-year-old resident in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've lived in Minnesota since 1924 when I moved to the city to begin my medical residency. I am a licensed pediatrician, and I have been practicing pediatric medicine in the city since I moved here. And then on January 24th, 2026, at approximately 9 a.m., I was awoken by the sound of cars honking and whistles blowing. Shortly after I awoke, I heard screaming from outside my window. I saw several ICE agents and civilians yelling at each other. One civilian was standing in front of a parked car on the side of the road, and now we know who that is. I saw him yelling at ICE agents, but I did not see him attack the agents or brandish a weapon of any kind. Suddenly, an ICE agent shoved him to the ground. My view of the altercation was partially obstructed, but after a few seconds, I saw the agent shoot the man at least 6 or 7 times. And this is the sworn statement in the lawsuit filed by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU of Minnesota. And I'm quoting from that document. And go on, quote, initially, I was stunned, From what I could see from my apartment, there was absolutely no need for any violence, let alone lethal force by multiple officers. I immediately put on my boots and coat, ran outside, and approached ICE agents who were near the victim. And I'll just interject here. As a former reporter who covered the medical beat quite extensively, when I was in Washington, I covered Health and Human Services, interviewed many doctors. That's what they're trained to do. Okay, so don't start saying, oh, why did she go and butt in? Because that's what doctors and good people are trained to do. They go to help. All right, we'll pick it up here at 6. The scene was chaotic. Many civilians were screaming and honking. Over the noise, I informed the ICE agent that I am a physician, and I asked to assess the victim. At first, the ICE agents wouldn't let me through. They repeatedly asked me for my physician's license, which I obviously didn't have. But none of the ICE agents who were near the victim were performing CPR, and I could tell the victim was in critical condition. I insisted that the agents let me assess him. And this is a doctor. She's a pediatrician. She's been a doctor for quite a while, and she lived right there. So she wasn't butting into anything. She was going down to help. And I'm just like anticipating some of the comments I'm going to get later. All right. None of the ICE agents who were near the victim were performing CPR, and I could tell the victim was in critical condition. I insisted that the agents let me assess him. Normally, I would have not been so persistent. Yeah, because she's a polite person. But as a physician, I felt a professional and moral obligation to help this man, especially since none of the agents were helping him, because the agents are not in any way qualified to handle an emergency. Okay, just a basic emergency. Most cops have some sort of training. You're forced, you take CPR classes, you take emergency classes. I mean, many officers that are around now know how to use the can to help drug addicts come back when they overdose, and on and on. And I don't know if it's like they don't have the training, but maybe they're told not to do it. I don't know. Back to the quote. She would not have been so persistent, but nobody was helping, so I'll pick it up here at point 8. Finally, one agent agreed to let me assess the victim. He patted me down to make sure I didn't have a weapon and then let me approach the victim. As I approached, I saw that the victim was lying on his side and was surrounded by several ICE agents. I was confused as to why the victim was on his side, because that is not standard practice when a victim has been shot. Checking for a pulse and administering CPR is a standard practice. Instead of doing either of those things, the ICE agents appeared to be counting his bullet wounds. Right here. Right here. I'm just letting you read it. The ICE agents appeared to be counting his bullet wounds. Oh man. Oh, wow. So I'm picking it up here. I asked the ICE agents if the victim had a pulse. They said they did not know. Then I asked the ICE agents to make space so I could assess the victim. The victim had at least 3 bullet wounds in his neck. I asked the ICE agents to turn the victim from his side to his back. From that position, I saw additional gunshot wound on the victim's upper left chest and another possible gunshot wound on his neck. I checked for a pulse, but I did not feel one. I immediately began CPR. Shortly after I started compressions, EMS personnel arrived and took over. And then she starts talking about how she felt after this. I remained at the scene for about 5 more minutes, but protesters began to gather and the situation seemed to be escalating, so I left and returned to my apartment. When I returned to my apartment, I was extremely distraught. I was sobbing and shaking uncontrollably. Eventually, I called my sister, who lives in a nearby suburb. I called her for comfort and because I did not feel safe in my apartment. I wanted to see if I could stay with her for the day or maybe even a few days. I also sought advice from a friend who works for the city of Minneapolis. He recommended that I shelter in place because the situation outside my apartment was so dangerous. I was going to follow his advice, but then ICE agents deployed tear gas on the crowd that had gathered below, and the tear gas began to seep into my apartment. And just to update everybody, I am reading from the witness statement. The ACLU has filed a lawsuit against Kristi Noem, the puppy killer, and other members of the regime that is trying to take over the country from a democracy to a government where only one person has complete rule, and that would be Trump. Okay, we go here. At this point, I did not feel like I could stay in my apartment any longer. I packed an overnight bag, took the elevator down to the parking garage, and drove about 6 blocks to a friend's house. I was still crying and shaking at this point and barely able to speak. I drove to my friend's house because it was close. I wanted time to collect myself before driving 30 minutes to my sister's house. So this is a doctor who was on the scene when Alex Pretti was shot and killed, and she tried to assist him when he lay dying, and ICE agents would not let her through. She had to argue her way through, and they, instead of giving him any kind of aid, which most cops do after a shooting, they were just standing around and counting his wounds, his bullet wounds. And here we go on to the quote. This is the deposition, a sworn statement by that doctor. I am devastated by the killing of a Minnesotan by multiple federal immigration agents. From what I could tell, the victim was not actively threatening ICE agents or the public. He was just yelling at the agents because he objected to ICE presence in our city. A person should not be shot and killed for lawfully expressing their opinions. That's the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And they not only violated that, they also violated his Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, the right to bear arms. He had a permit. He had a legal permit to carry. And all this bullshit from people saying he should not have had a loaded gun, that is his right in the state of Minnesota to, if he had a permit, which he had, he did not pull it out. He did not use it. Anybody who talks about, I would take a gun, this is one of those, the Treasury Secretary, who's the biggest jerk I've ever seen. Have you ever gone to a concert? He asked. Have you ever gone to a demonstration or a rally? He asked one of the Fox anchors, and the Fox anchor went, oh, no, I've never gone to a rally. I'm a journalist. And it's like, no, dude, you are not a journalist. First of all, A. B, you've never covered a rally? You've never seen what people bring to rallies or to a concert? Woof. You see, they're so out of touch with the real world, man. Oh, okay, back to the quote. Quote, a person should not be shot and killed for lawfully expressing their opinions. I am not sure when I will return to my apartment. I do not feel safe in my city. In less than 1 month, ICE agents have shot and killed 2 people, and they've killed more than that in the country for protesting and observing their actions. They're observing actions and blowing a whistle. What the F? I worry that I or someone I love will be shot and killed for voicing their displeasure and being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I declare under penalty of perjury and everything I have stated in this document is true and correct. And then it's signed. So that's the statement. There is a second witness statement, And this is all part of the lawsuit filed by the American Civil Liberties Union. And the reason that I'm writing this, the reason that I'm putting this up as a live and then it'll live on my site, is because of all the lies that went on over the weekend from these people. And I fear that there are some people who don't read or don't get their news from anywhere else but mainstream media, or from, the liars that are in the pockets of the Trump administration, including people that we used to know and trust and count on, like CBS News, for instance. I really feel in my heart that the Vietnam War, if you've read any history at all, would not have ended if it hadn't been for CBS News sending correspondents to Vietnam and bringing those pictures home so American people could see what was going on there. And, I don't want to live in a country where it's just a bunch of billionaires sending poor people, which is what they did in Vietnam, sending all the guys in my neighborhood, my poor neighborhood in Fresno, to fight in a war. And now it's happening here. We have it going on here. So this woman, I will not read all of this, but she says she is a resident. She's 18. She's over 18. I'm a children's entertainer. I specialize in face painting. So we have two members of the spectrum here. We have a doctor who studied for years and years, and now we have someone who's an entertainer and works with children and is a face painter. And I'll pass through all this beginning because it's really just her talking about why she went to the area, which is because she wanted to shoot video, to have video in case something happened, and to use her whistle to stop ICE from knocking women and innocent people to the ground and beating them up. So I'm going to come down here a ways, and I'll start up at point 7. And this is a sworn witness statement in the lawsuit filed by the ACLU against the puppy killer, Kristi Noem, and members of Homeland Security and members of ICE. Because, dudes, folks, they're not training these people, but they're taking our tax dollar, and it's a lot. And I'm going to do that whole budget fiasco in another live shot, in another video. ICE has more money than any other government agency in this country. Get that. Let that sink in. ICE has more, it's a department that has more money. It's $10 billion. And that's our tax dollar. I mean, I don't know how you guys all feel about your tax dollar being wasted on stuff you don't agree with. I mean, that happens, right? It happens. It's part of living in a democracy. But I work hard for my tax dollars, and I don't want it going to people who have no training and have guns and are knocking women to the ground and shooting people that have done nothing more than just try to protect a woman. So she arrives at the scene, our face painter, and I'll pick it up from here. Quote, "I started recording. There was an agent by a car across the street. 2 observers were a few feet away from the agent, blowing their whistles. One was wearing a backpack. And the man who was observing and directing traffic was standing in the street. There was a phone in the man's hand, recording a video. The agent approached and asked us to back up. So I moved slowly back onto the sidewalk. The man stayed in the street filming as the other observers I mentioned earlier were being forced backward by another ICE agent, threatening them with pepper spray. The man, and this is Alex, Nurse Alex, the man went closer to support them as they got threatened, just with his camera out. I did not see him reach for or hold a gun." Here it is, right here. "Then the ICE agent shoved one of the other observers to the ground." They do this a lot. Why? Why? I got to calm down, man. Then he started pepper spraying all three of them directly in the face and all over. And it's bad. It's bad if you've ever been pepper sprayed. The man with the phone put his hands up above his head, and the agent sprayed him again and pushed him. Sorry, I've got my... Then the man tried to help up the woman the ICE agents had shoved to the ground, and the ICE agents just kept spraying. More agents came over and grabbed the man who was still trying to help the woman get up. What is he doing? He's helping a woman get up. All three of the observers looked to have been badly affected by the pepper spray. I could feel the pepper spray in my eyes, she said, and she was across the street. The agents pulled the man to the ground. I didn't see him touch any of them. He wasn't even turned toward them. It didn't look like he was trying to exist. Just try to help the woman up. I didn't see him with a gun. They threw him to the ground. 4 or 5 agents had him on the ground, and they just started shooting him. They shot him so many times. And then she says right here, I don't know why they shot him. He was only helping. I was 5 feet from him, and they just shot him. The video I recorded of what happened accurately depicts the events leading up to the agent shooting him and several minutes afterward. The video is attached as Exhibit 1. So we'll see that eventually. I have read the statement from DHS about what happened, and it is wrong. The man did not approach the agents with a gun. He approached them with a camera. He was just trying to help a woman get up, and they took him to the ground. I feel afraid. Only hours have passed since they shot a man right in front of me, and I don't feel I can go home because I heard agents were looking for me. I don't know what the agents will do when they find me. I don't know that they're not telling the truth about what happened. Oh, no. I do know they are not telling the truth about what happened. I've heard that several other witnesses might have been arrested and taken to the Whipple building. I am disgusted and gutted at how they are treating my neighbors in my state. I keep alternating between crying and feeling determined. It is important to remember the value of documenting injustice. Agreed. That's why I'm doing this right now. We show up for the people who need us to bear witness because it just can't be one group of people bearing the brunt of their tyranny. This is a struggle to protect our freedom and democracy. Those things are on the line. He lost his life for those values. I declare under penalty of perjury that everything I've stated in this document is true and correct. So those are the witness statements from 2 witnesses who are on the ground. So it's going to be a part of the lawsuit that the American Civil Liberties Union is filing because they said this is tyranny. ACLU compared what's happening in Minnesota to what happened in World War II. Yeah, I'm going there again. What Nazis did to average citizens who try to fight against that injustice. And we have to work together, my friends, to make sure that we document all of this and we talk about it and we say it. I was talking to my younger nephew late last night. He said, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I want to do something, because he's working. He's got stuff going on. Of course, we were talking really late because we were playing video games, but that's another story. And I said, look, you can send emails. You can write letters. You can talk about it. with people who are MAGAs. You can talk about it with loved ones, with people who don't want to get involved, or people who say, oh, I just can't handle it. It's just too much. It's like, yeah, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. I mean, I was really stressed out. I hardly could sleep all weekend, and I wound up watching late night videos of the worst bear attacks. Yeah, because things are pretty bad, but we got to stick together. And one of the ways we can stick together is, and I've been doing this, writing emails, sending emails to people in Congress that I know and people in Congress that I don't know, and telling them to not pass the budget. It's in the Senate, and I'll have a full video, a full live shot on that later tonight. So stay tuned. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm Gloria Moraga. This is political news. I post every day. I covered the budget for years. I worked in Washington for Cox Broadcasting, and budget was one of my things. You know why? Because the other reporters didn't like covering the budget, but I loved it. And going through and seeing how much money each of these departments are getting and what are they doing with that money. And right now, ICE is just being funded at just extraordinary levels, and and they don't know what to do with the money. And they are building more prisons, and they are using private companies to build those prisons. And say what you will about Tom Holman. He was on the board of directors, and he has close ties to a number of these private prison firms that have the government contracts to build these prisons. These dudes are making billions of dollars to build these prisons. And right now, I'm going to post this in a little minute. I've got a video ready to go on this. This is one of the Texas prison sites, the immigrant prison sites. And this is where the little boy from Minnesota was taken with his dad. And we've now learned that they have separated them. So our little boy with the little backpack and the big hat is here in this detention center. They had a protest over the weekend. And people are saying, oh, this is a fake AI generated. No, it's not. This is a private prison that's there. And there's, I have video, there's sound from a lawyer who was outside the door. And the reason they're all dressed in similar clothing is because these companies that run these prisons, they are textile manufacturers as well. And they're selling, so we're paying for these clothes that they're putting, when I say we're, the taxpayer. So this is where your tax dollars are going to put children in cages and make them wear these clothes that we're paying for, that we don't want to pay for. You want, I don't know where you stand on immigration. I said for years we need immigration reform. We need immigration reform, but legal immigration reform, not just, and after all this, you guys, after all this, I'm getting ready to close out here. All this stuff that they're doing, all the violations of the Constitution, all the violations of law, killing a man because he has a permit to carry and has a weapon that he did not brandish, that he never pulled out. All of these insults. Trump's numbers and the people who are building these prisons, they're still less than Obama's. They're still failing miserably to do what's right for all of us, which is deport the killers and the murderers and the rapists and leave law-abiding citizens who are working through the system to become legal legal citizens, leave them alone. So, thank you for being here. I'm Gloria Moraga. I'll be back in a little bit. I don't want to cram too much into the live shot. I'm trying to focus on one issue. This issue was on the witness statements. Please, when you're talking to people, when you're dealing with your mom and dad or whomever that only watch Fox, not a news station, know the facts. sworn under oath, a doctor and a children's entertainer, witnessed firsthand what happened and what Kristi Noem, puppy killer, like the worst of the worst, what she said and what they're saying did not happen. It did not happen. They're lying. Thank you. Please subscribe to my channel. Please hit the like button and follow me here. And I will be back. Thanks for being here. I'm Gloria Moraga with some political news. And I've got more. There's so much more. It's overwhelming. But thanks.